this presentation is about the hematological and biochemical complication in tuberculosis patients. Basically, this was my PhD research in which we already published some part from this in microbial pathogenesis, where there 3 mutations were found. And basically, we would also like to find some more hematological and biochemical complication due to which it may be provide some support in finding some mutation before the finding of mutation, some clue and new points. The overview is the introduction, objectives, methodology, results, conclusion and recommendation, and acknowledgement references. First of all, introduction. The tuberculosis is the 10th leading cause of death in all over the world, which rank about human immunodeficiency virus from a single infectious agent. TB is becoming a huge public health problem throughout the whole world for both developed and developing countries. Infection due to Mycobacterium tuberculosis is observed for the last 5,000 years, considered as an old enemy of human being. Tuberculosis is one of the airborne disease which is carried by small droplets known as droplet nuclei in the form of aerosol or aerosols and transmitted by pulmonary or laryngeal tuberculosis patient during talking, etc., during coughing as well as sneezing. And the patient having tuberculosis, especially who were suffering from pulmonary tuberculosis, having seriously affected the homeostatic system, hematological system, and so response to therapy and prognosis. The changes in the hematological system act as marker for the detection of tuberculosis. The aim of the study was to find out the complication of hematological and biochemical profiles of tuberculosis patients. The hematological system is seriously affected in the patient having TB, and different abnormalities occur in those patients who were suffering from TB. TB is transmitted, as we discussed in the previous slide, during sneezing, coughing, while talking, in the form of droplets, droplet nuclei, in the form of aerosols. These are the infected lungs due to which the Mycobacterium tuberculosis are transmitted from person to person, and the droplet nuclei is transmitted from this infected person to the new healthy person. These are the signs, symptoms in which the primary pulmonary tuberculosis having dry cough, fever, weakness, etc. These are other signs, symptoms. Methodology. We collected some samples from different districts of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Pakistan, and other districts from Punjab, from Pakistan, district Dir Lower, district Mardan, district Peshawar, district Kohat, district Dera Ismail Khan, and district Lahore. This is the flow chart. First of all, we collected the samples from different hospitals along with the prescribed performer and some reports from which were given to them by the doctors. And also we collected the X-rays and other basically provided tests. For confirmation, we scan in by safety level 3 and by safety level 2 lab the sputum, and also we confirm it through PCR, etc. Through acid pass stain, through Ramine and GEMSA, where the positive and negative patients were presented. We also perform the flow cytometry and the hematology of the patient and biochemistry. These were our targeted hematology and biochemistry, while the flow cytometry and PCR, etc., were in the for the gene mutation and other purposes, basically interleukin 12 or beta 1 gene, where there we found 3 mutations. These are the results. These are the demographic results. Here there are 47 were male, 56 were female, and age were less than 15 were 14, and the total number 103. These are the clinical information. Where there the consanguinity were 17, and other infection with TB were 86. These are the infections. Other infections were also observed in the patients, which were pneumonia, osteomyelitis, arthritis, abscess of the skin, superficial skin infection, bacteremia, fungemia, leishmaniasis, and typhoid. And the patient 67 number who were only having signs symptoms of TB. These are the slides, different patients, chest X-rays, and the positive samples through Ramin, fluorescent microscopy, etc. These are the X-ray 103 numbers of the all of the patients having the chest X-ray. 96 were tested for microscopy, 39 for culture, scan test, gene expert 34, ELISA were 12. These were the basically the demographic information of the test which were performed by the patients. And the patient were also subjected to collected some related information in the form of performa, which were animals, patients. Those patients who were there, the contact to animals were 36.89%, and those patients who were 22.33% having other TB patient in their houses, and 40.78% having no information about the animal or patients. These are the results which were collected by the patients, from the patients during the collection of samples and other related information in the form of performa. These are the socioeconomic status, which were 22.33% were right, 35.92 were satisfactory, 41.75% were poor. Well ventilated area 55.34%, and bed ventilated area were 44.66%. With animal contact were 44.66%, without animal contact 55.34%. And the family size of the patient were also discussed in this table. Here the small family 56 number, 54.37, the large 45.63, and the sole family 46.6%, while the giant were 53.40. These are the hematological information collected after the collection of the samples subjected through hematological analyzer. These are the age group less than 20, 21 to 30, 31 to 40, and greater than 40 years. These are the WBC, RBC HGP, these are the hematological information. Here there are some changes were found as compared to the normal. In the next tables, we will discuss it. These are the gender, male and female, the WBC, RBC, the blood parameter were present, which will be discussed in the next for the complication of the hematological. These are the parameters, hematological studies of TB patients. The 10.33 is the average plus minus 1.4 standard deviation. The HB level was 10.33 plus minus 1.4. It may be the 11.7 something or 8.9 something. These are the hematocrit percentage, 32.6, which is the average of the whole 103 patients, and plus minus 2.3. These are the RBC, MCV, MCH, etc. These are the hematological parameters which are present in average plus minus. These are the complications which were found in the TB patient. Here, the type of anemia, this is the severity of anemia. The macrocytic anemia was observed in the TB patient 6.8%, followed by the highest 58.25%. Here the microcytic hypochromic anemia was observed in the TB patient, and 34.95% normocytic normochromic anemia was observed. While the severity of anemia was also checked, that the mild condition was 10 to 13 gram per deciliter was 51.4%, followed by moderate 40.78, and the severe was 7.77%. And WBC complication were also observed. The WBC count 2.91, which is the leukopenia, less than 4 into 10 raised power 3 per microliter. 2.91% was observed in the TB patient, and the highest was 55.34% leukocytosis, and the normal were 41.75. It means that 59% were some dependencies and complications were found in the patients. These are the normal range of the absolute neutrophils count, 55.34% patients having normal, but 42.72% neutrophils greater than 7 into 10 raised power 3, while the neutropenia, which was observed 1.94%. The neutrophilia, the range was 7 into 10 raised power 3, was 42.72%, which is the highest. The absolute lymphocytes count were also observed in the TB patients, and the platelets count in the TB patients. These are the absolute lymphocytes count, where the lymphopenia was 8.74%, and the lymphocytosis was 3.88%, while the 87.38% of the patient were normal. And the platelets count, the range was about 60% were some complication of the thrombocytosis and thrombocytopenia. The thrombocytosis were 56.31%, and the thrombocytopenia was 2.91%, which is important to be studied. A very important complication found 2.91% in the TB patient. The ESR was also studied in the TB patient. Less than 15 millimeter per hour was 7.77%, 16.5, 16 to 30 millimeter per hour, 35.92%, 31 to 45 millimeter per hour, and greater than 45 millimeter per hour, the ESR was observed 39.81%, which is very important that we can calculate and we can find about some complications of the TB patient, and the ESR is very important to be checked before the treatment and other some complications like the mutation, etc. Interleukin or beta-1 in other related gene should be checked. But before those genes, we should to check the ESR level. If the ESR level is greater than 45, then we perform the samples for the other complications and mutations analysis, because to find the mutation and PCR molecular techniques, which is the very costly method, so we can perform. And before the test, if the test is the ESR level is less than 15 or 16 to 30, so it may be possibility that the IL-12 or beta-1 in other genes or other mutation may not be present because the ESR level is not greater than 45. The bilirubin level and the amylase, lipase, LDH, these are those biochemical tests which shows us that there are a large of complications were found in the bilirubin in the normal, which is 1.2, but in the patient, and this level was decreased 0.45 milligram per deciliter. Similarly, the amylase which should to be up to 92, but it was increased up 165 in the patients. So this is a very important, and it should to be necessarily for the TB patient that the bilirubin and the amylase biochemical test should to be performed before the treatment and other finding of the complication. Similarly, the lipase, which is 15 to 62, but we observed 308 in the patient in the average. So this is also important to be checked before other treatment, etc. As well as the LDH, which is up to 248 in the normal, but we observe in the average 327. And other complication, SGPT, blood urea, etc. These are those which are slightly changed or observed in our research. So our research is more focusing on bilirubin, total, S-amylase, lipase, and LDH, which should to be checked for each of TB patient before the treatment, after the treatment, and for other mutation and other biochemical tests and other complications. These are the overall mutation which were performed in our previous work, which were published in Microbial Pathogenesis 2, some of which where there we found the mutation in exon 4, which was C199G replaced by IME, and the truncated protein was found by stop codon. Similarly, at exon number 6 and exon number 10, we also found the mutations which are already published. These are the general IL-12 or beta-1 gene, which is composed of exon 1 to 17, and we found in the complications and mutations related to this gene, and other gene may also be involved, but we targeted this. Conclusion and recommendations. These are our finding. It was concluded from the current study that the hematological and biochemical abnormality were found in TB patients. The current study revealed that biological and hematological tests are helpful for checking the impact of treatment of TB patient as well as for the severity of the TB disease, which should to be conducted especially in recurrent tuberculosis or multi-drug resistant. These are the references. Thank you so much for providing me such opportunity and waiting for my this presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Noor. That was a very good presentation and very knowledgeable. Thank you so much for your time and thank you so much for being here and present this presentation. We really appreciate that. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for the whole uh, members of this conference. Thank you so much once again.